I'll just go straight into my statement, and then we'll do the follow-up as expected. It is with a profound sense of duty, hope, and unity that I address my fellow citizens today. We stand on the threshold of a crucial chapter in our nation's history, a chapter that holds the promise of democratic governance and peaceful elections. The recent signing of the Memorandum of Understanding by leaders of various political parties is a significant milestone in our journey towards a better Zimbabwe. The history of Zimbabwe's electoral process has been tumultuous, marred with challenges such as voter intimidation, electoral fraud, and violence. These issues have undermined the principles of democracy and the will of the people. One of the darkest chapters in our electoral history was the 2008 elections, characterized by widespread violence and intimidation. The integrity of the electoral process was compromised, casting a shadow over our democratic aspirations. In response to these challenges, the National Electoral Reform Agenda was formed. NERA is a coalition of political parties, civil society organizations, and stakeholders committed to advocating for electoral reforms and ensuring a more transparent, fair, and credible electoral process. NERA's goal is to address the shortcomings and injustices of previous elections, creating an environment where the will of the people is accurately reflected. One of NERA's success stories was the push for the implementation of the biometric voter registration system. This system introduced a more technologically advanced and secure method of our voter registration, reducing the potential for fraud and ensuring a more accurate voters' roll. Despite these achievements, there is still much work to be done to democratize the electoral playing field in Zimbabwe. Today, I am pleased to update the people of Zimbabwe on this significant process we have made in our mission to push for electoral reforms. On the 18th of January 2023, a historic occasion took place as 23 political parties came together to sign a Memorandum of Understanding. This collective act solidified our commitment to working together towards the common goal of credible elections. In a country that has been long plagued by polarization, this milestone is of utmost importance. Prior to the signing ceremony, NERA conducted an extensive consultative process involving multiple political parties to discuss the prospect of uniting to advocate for electoral reforms. This inclusive process culminated in a meeting of the Secretary Generals of different political parties, during which a roadmap was developed. The NERA document, the MOU, was transparently circulated, and all stakeholders had the opportunity to provide input. The subsequent signing ceremonies held in Harare and Bulawayo represented a significant milestone in the collective pursuit of electoral reform in the region. The signing of the MOU has not only brought together political parties, but has also garnered the attention and interest of numerous civil society organizations. On the 24th of January, more than 5 political parties and civil societies gathered in Bulawayo as well, further exemplifying the growing support for the cause of credible elections in Zimbabwe. NERA envisions a Zimbabwe where transparency, fairness, and credibility form the bedrock of our electoral system. We strive for reforms that guarantee the independence of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, transparent appointment of ZEC commissioners, non-alignment of securities, among other crucial reforms. These changes are essential to enhance the integrity and inclusivity of our electoral process. NERA is unwavering in its commitment to peaceful elections. We believe that political parties and their leaders have a collective responsibility to foster non-violence, tolerance, and respect for the rule of law throughout the electoral process. It is through peaceful engagement and constructive dialogue that we can secure the future we aspire to build for our nation. It is crucial to emphasize that NERA is not about individuals, it is about an idea. We value ideas over personalities and focus on the future rather than dwelling on the past. NERA serves as a platform for dialogue where ideas on how to make our elections credible are discussed and nurtured. Every individual who believes they have a role to play in achieving credible elections is welcome to join NERA. Here, our focus is not on the idea, not the person pushing it. We urge all political players to put Zimbabwe first and unite in pushing for electoral reforms. It is important to recognize that the misunderstandings and political squabbles have plagued our nation and have hindered investment and economic growth. Without investor confidence, our economy struggles to thrive. The progress of our country is intricately linked to politics, and it is evident that bad politics hinder development. I appeal to all citizens, political parties, and stakeholders to actively engage in the electoral process. Let us unite in our efforts to shape a democratic and inclusive society for current and future generations. Our collective participation and commitment is to uphold democratic governance will pave the way for a brighter and more prosperous Zimbabwe. The role of civil society organizations in supporting NERA's objectives is vital. Collaboration between political parties, civil society, and the stakeholders is necessary to ensure free, fair, and credible electoral processes. Together, we can strengthen the mechanisms that safeguard the democratic principles we hold so dear. NERA remains steadfast in its commitment to address these challenges and create an environment conducive to credible elections. We believe that by pushing for electoral reforms, we can restore investor confidence, attract the much-needed investments, and pave the way for a prosperous Zimbabwe. I once again appeal to all Zimbabweans to rally behind the cause for credible elections. Let us put aside our differences and work together towards a brighter future for our beloved country. NERA is determined to continue engaging with all stakeholders, fostering dialogue, and advocating for the necessary reforms that will ensure transparent and fair electoral processes. Together, we can build a Zimbabwe where the values of transparency, fairness, and credibility are upheld in every aspect of our electoral system. Let us embrace the spirit of unity and hope as we navigate the path ahead. Confident that our collective participation and commitment to democratic governance will lead us to a better and more prosperous Zimbabwe. Thank you, and may the spirit of unity and hope guide us in the path ahead.
Oh, thank you very much, Madam Convener. In fact, there has been a misrepresentation in the press regarding the NERA being supposed to be a successor to Polad. The two organizations are different. The the Polad was made up of political leaders who had contested in the 2018 elections. And to that extent, it was exclusive to political leaders only. And that's why its name is called political actors. It does not include any other persons who were not contestants. And Pollard ended anyway with the coming in of elections. We do not know whether President Mnangagwa intends to reconstruct it. We do not know. Nera, on the other hand, was formed well before Pollard. It was formed as an idea in 2015, blossomed in 2016, and its principal agenda is electoral reforms. It recognizes that Zimbabwe is a democracy. Its composition, different from Poland, is that it is made up of those political leaders who want to join Nera and who subscribe to the democratization of Zimbabwe. It is all whether they contested in elections or not. And also, it is made up of civil society organizations. So it is a broader group of people, but with a very specific agenda. And the agenda is electoral reform in this country. And as a group, we are not exclusive. We do not exclude anyone who wants to join Nera. In Nera, we say the more the merrier. And we are actually calling on those who have not yet joined to come and to join in this great citizens agenda. So there is no relationship between Nera and Polad.
Thank you for your question, Mlondolozi. On the electoral amendment act you spoke about, yes, there were some amendments that were done, and we are also cognizant of the fact that one of the reforms there is actually a contradiction of Section 17 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which was the extension of the 60 proportional representation seats. So as such, we also have a mandate to ensure that the Constitution of Zimbabwe remains the supreme law of this land, and that selective application of the law and enacting laws that contradict the national constitution of this country will end. So for us, what is of paramount importance is to ensure that Zimbabwe achieves the multi-party democracy that it is. I think we are all cognizant of the fact that Zimbabwe is a constitutional democracy. But we have had selective application of the Constitution happening in government, happening as well at the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, happening as well in intra-party politics, where political party leaders are failing to also observe the supremacy of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. And as such, one of the major electoral reforms that we seek as NERA is to ensure that we move over from the Westminster first past the post electoral system, which is exclusive, the winner takes all, and that always has lost votes. We want all political parties to be able to reap the votes that they get through a proportional representation system like the one that is used in South Africa, where all political parties submit a zebra list of candidates, and then we do away with the constituencies. It will also help us to eradicate toxicity, polarity, violence, and ensure that we achieve 50-50 gender balance as enshrined in Section 17 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. We will not have any lost votes because every political party that has got a percentage from the election will be able to have its MPs in parliament. We really need to move away from the binary politics that we've been having in this country, which has led to so many problems that we have. There are other amendments that we're going to sit down with the PCM tomorrow, and then we'll communicate again with Zimbabwe on the steps forward that we'll take from there. We are still compiling the reforms that we need that are relevant to the political economy and electoral cycle in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Madam Masaria. And then on the last question there, in regards to CCC's activities and any other political parties. Yes, yeah. With that, I don't think we are answering any questions in regards to any intra-party situations for any political party. And in regards to anybody attending the meeting in Bulawayo, I think we need to be aware of misinformation and disinformation, and it is amongst us. And such things are happening today. So that is the best answer that we can give you. Thank you very much for all these questions. I think I will take on in regards to engagement of stakeholders. NERA is the platform for us to all come together and discuss the issues pertaining to electoral reforms in our country. I'm sure we have mentioned, even in the message that I've given today, that it's not just limited to just political parties. We've got so many different organizations. We do have like the civic societies that we've just been talking about. We've got the farmers as well, and then we've got the what do you call it? Even the church organizations and the what do you call them? The ex-freedom fighters as well. We've got vendors and we've got businesses and all of those women organizations as well as youth. So all of those people are uniting together and put our ideas on paper in regards to the electoral issues that we have. And by so doing, what we're doing is we are examining the most probable rules that we have within our political system so that we can find a very good promotion of our, elected representative, government. As you know as well, we do have these reforms, that are there, but then we are looking into engaging all these stakeholders so that we can come up, with clear reforms. And, with clear reforms, they actually, shape and, make up our Congress as well as our local and, state legislature. And that is quite important, for us to come up with, strong incentives that can actually guide, the behavior of these elected, officials, because these officials, make up our government. And by making up our government, we do need to actually look into their service delivery in terms of the domain ministries that they run. So it is quite important, for us to come together as stakeholders, because this just doesn't affect political parties as it seems, in this country. It actually affects, everybody, starting from the child, women, youth, even, civic organizations. So this is what, NERA is about. And on the question on the 2023 elections, and what we have come up, so far in regards to the electoral reforms, I'm sure I can ask either Madam Masarira or Senator to actually, give us an update on that.
Yes. As you know, as you can appreciate, ever since independence, our elections have always been disputed. If we go to recent history, 2018, it was a disputed election. It ended in the Constitutional Court. 2023 elections were disputed and disputed even before they started. You remember there was this delimitation challenge that we sent to the Constitutional Court. We had a record number of contestants going to court even before elections. And we then had, during the elections, a lot of complaints that were raised by those who contested the election. So it was a disputed election. And being a disputed election, whether a government then results or not, doesn't take away the fact that it is disputed. The aim of NERA is to make sure that we have an election that is accepted by everybody, the winners and the losers. They congratulate one another because the playing field is even. So you also saw that after the election, we had a lot of disquiet. We had a lot of observer missions that commented on our election. One of them was the SADC Observer Mission, the AU Observer Mission, the Commonwealth, the EU. All these missions suggested important changes to our electoral system. And that is one of the things that as NERA we are going to look at. There were electoral reforms that were suggested by the Mohlande Commission that were never implemented. So we are going to deal with that. Now, besides that observer mission and the opinions of the stakeholders, the most important person that NERA is going to engage with is the Zimbabwean person, the Zimbabwean citizen himself or herself. So we are going to be talking to the citizens, we are going to be talking to the people about the nature of the reforms that they want. And after that, we will put a glossary of all the reforms that we think are necessary.
If we're going to litigate or not, that is actually one of the things that are on our plan of action, that we are going to approach Parliament, and we are also going to litigate if we don't have any success in Parliament, because we all know that Parliament is responsible for the enactment of laws. So we are definitely going to approach Parliament, and if we don't get the result that we want in Parliament, we are definitely going to go to the Constitutional Court.
Thank you very much for that. I think in regards to, funding, I'll pass it on to Mr. Mwonzora to...
Thank you so much. Yeah, in regards to your question concerning funding, we are not being funded from anywhere. We are self-funding. It's a self-drive. That's why we are involving every stakeholder, the church, even in ordinary Zimbabwe. Anyone, even among yourself, you can say, we want to fund this engagement. Because it's all about the reforms of the general citizen. Anyone from the windy or from a vendor is involved. So funding is not coming from anywhere, as maybe the narrative can come from the newspaper. We are not being funded by anybody. We are self-funding. That's what we can say concerning Nera. And Nera is a platform for everybody. It's for unification. It's for binding together, coming together. That's why I found that on these portfolios that have been made, there's the religious engagement. In religious engagement, we are talking about churches, we're talking about political leaders also, we're talking about chiefs as far as from the word up here, you understand? So this is what we are going to do. We need everybody to be involved in driving this reform. This reform is not for myself, it's not for Linda, neither Madam, neither Mwonzora, but it's a reform for everybody, every Zimbabwean who is here in Zimbabwe and who is abroad. So the purpose is unity. The purpose is togetherness, unifying. And then we speak with one language, one voice. Even the same guys who are governing now, they need Nera. You understand? True. They need us because the reforms that they are trying to foster in the parliament or in the cabinet are not making sense without us. Because if there are disputed elections, those disputed elections need somebody to say, so what should we do in our house? Can we not come together and find each other to build a better Zimbabwe? That is the agenda of Nera. Over to you, Madam. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to thank our convener, Madam Mwonzora, the organizers led by our chairman, Mr. Mugari, and the principals that are present. Please, we beg you, this is an area, we want to plead with the press that characterize us correctly.
Thank you.
Characterize
Thank you.
the argument that we are proffering to the nation correctly. And sometimes the media can destroy something which is good. There was a fight about delimitation, and the media simply took it as a postponement of elections, and which was not there. So here, you all Zimbabwe as the media, we can't tell you how to do your jobs. Most of you are very professional, and we are very happy about that. But here is an important program. And just to answer a question here, Polad, you see all these principals who are here, including myself. No one of us was in Polad. True. But sometimes the press forgets that. I was not in Polad. I was in Parliament, yes. None of the leaders here was in Polad. Sure. And how then can the two organizations be the same? This is an important task, just like the task we had when we wrote the Constitution. We were not writing it for the principals. We are not doing the reforms for these principals or whoever is leading Nera. It is for all Zimbabweans. So Zimbabweans, thank you very much for coming to this press conference, and thank you very much for the questions that you have asked on behalf of the citizens of Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that.
Okay.
Thank you.